Like especially twists and turns.
Yeah.
For Hateful Eight, you have this entire bar scene going on. You're finally, it feels like the movie is coming to a close, and
Yeah.
then randomly the main guy gets shot in his balls.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, but talking about Hateful Eight, right? One thing that felt very out of place to me, like suddenly when they shift between chapters 1 and 2, right? Then suddenly this narrator voice comes into picture.
You felt narrator voice to be out of place in Hateful Eight.
Ha, exactly.
You did not feel that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Like I didn't enjoy the movie, right? So I
But come on, so if you think about it, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you have that initial scene in the bar
hmm,
where he meets that director who's telling him to go to Italian movies. There you
hmm.
have a narrator voice. He's like, no,
So
this is a lie.
that
And
was
then,
brilliant. Hmm.
no, so that was okay. And then the entire movie is silent. Towards the end, randomly you have narrator voice coming again.
Uh-huh.
Why? Did you forget narrator? You are there.
Ah, exactly right. The way that narrator interjects in that movie, I that was brilliant. Like right, that was brilliant. Like no, he
Also,
wasn't.
that should have continued. That should have continued throughout the movie.
Yeah, exactly. But
It's
for
like the
hateful,
narrator slept off.
but in the hateful eight, it was like narrator narrating. Like I don't know. I didn't like that. It's like you could have very easily done the show don't tell thing. Why didn't you do that?
Uh, like how would you do that?
Like
You
I
have to
don't
focus on the guy confronting that army major, like Samuel Jackson
like
confronting that army major. You can't
like
simultaneously show someone poisoning the coffee.
it's between this thing. So the narrator voice comes in between, right? After he has shot the army major, right?
Hmm.
Then you have then they what does the narrator say? Like
Why
these
is this chapter
person.
called this? Justifying the chapter title.
Yeah.
Ha,
And
matlab, you don't really need to do that, right? You could have just
but
shown that.
how would have you like? Wouldn't it have seen out of place? Like you have the
It
same scene
is it
playing
is for the
this.
people who had an open mind at that point, Shreyas. I think your mind was closed. It's like you just seeing the chapter title, it should have popped a question in your head. What are you trying to say here? And then
Yeah.
he very conveniently answers it in the next
Yeah.
minute.
I don't know.
And especially that particular scene that we're talking about, like when he's trying to entice the major by telling him about his son.
Yeah.
Like if you remember that one point where he says, "You're forming images in your head, right
Yeah.
now." And then he looks straight onto the camera. Like that scene felt
Oh,
very
ah,
good. That
no,
delivery was perfect. It felt like he's talking to you. It's like he's like randomly you're out of the movie right now, and then he's addressing the viewers. He's like you're making pictures in your head, right?
like
That was perfect delivery.
Samuel L. Jackson was so epic, just mind blowing,
Yes, mind blowing.
mind blowing, literally and metaphorically. Like he shoots the head right of the person
Yeah,
who came
that
out
guy.
from the shit. My
Even
God.
before that, he shoots that Mexican, right?
Hmm.
Like two bullets
Oh,
in his chest, then he falls
oh,
down, then two more, and then you have that scene. Like you have it for a split second only, but you have that scene, right? His head entire blows off to pieces.
Yeah.
uh, and
Like
then they
damn,
make it right. No, you won't be able to collect his bounty because
exactly.
his face does not exist anymore. My God.
I was like, don't you have fingerprints? No,
I don't think they
No,
would
right?
have, like it was discovered back then.
Mm-hmm.
maybe not. I don't know, man. Come on,
Wait, but we have the ink stamps now.
you have what?
Because if even if you look at Django Unchained, right? Even in that they are lugging around bodies, right? So
Yeah. Maybe.
I think fingerprints were not a thing, but yeah, who knows?
No, so there's also that you may not have his fingerprints on record,
Yeah.
Oh, that also is
but
Yeah.
there.
yeah, we
Poor
shall never
testing techniques. Yeah.
We shall never. Well, we can know if we take out the time to search, but I don't think any one of us is going to do that.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
We let the scene be.
Yep.
But speaking of scenes, one essential point is sound.
Hmm.
And what would you say, master of sound design here. It's like almost that after Hans Zimmer, I would say. So Hans Zimmer has a very nice way of adding, like giving the scene a pacing with the sound. And while that is not happening here, it's something completely different yet as just as intense.
Yeah, so Impact is on the similar lines.
Yes.
Well, Zimmer creates his original tracks, Tarantino uses existing tracks, but the like effect is almost similar. And
And like a lot of times I've also felt the tracks to be very reminiscent of the era, especially in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I guess that was the intention of the movie.
yeah,
But
cause
like that is what I felt throughout is you have like even in Pulp Fiction you have I think the 80s, 70s, 80s being depicted, and
yeah,
then you have pretty much jazz or something going on. It's
like
like pretty much 80s movie, 80s music.
yeah. But in Django and like Hateful Eight, he sort of played around with things like mostly in Django, like you have
In
those
Django he does.
yeah. And
Django is also very very much pride focused, right? It's like so much pride, so much ego.
another thing that I remember, so like one of the things that he keep in mind, like he like in most of his characters like are listening to music, and that continues in the scenes. So
Sometimes, not always.
yeah, like most of the time, like
No,
in
not even most of the times.
like
Right.
It's very few. So, like Hateful Eight, headphones, earphones, or speakers like, don't really exist.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There is
So
that piano scene that's about it.
yeah,
And like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has, I think, the most of it where you have headphones on and then music also simultaneously plays.
in Pulp Fiction you also have like the I think Mia
Record
was
player.
dancing in her house. Yeah,
I mean, which one, right? She's playing a record player.
no, it shows.
Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, she puts on a record player and then starts dancing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything special to say about it. It's like
So
any, a
Nahin,
thousand
so
movies have done that.
so in
no,
Reservoir
but
Dogs also, like
Reserve. Yeah, I
where
was
it
going.
cuts like it would be a spoiler for your writing. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Should I mention
Like,
it?
no, no, no,
We'll,
no,
we'll
no,
edit that part out so that I don't get spoiled in the final episode.
no, no, no.
So, okay. So there's a gruesome part, a gory part in the movie, and then you have the character. He just, I think he plays a record, like a
Radio.
radio. Yeah. So he's just dancing on the sound of the radio, and then yeah, the scene. So
You didn't even capture the most important part of it. So the thing is, right, he turns on the radio and then it's going on, and then he goes out of the building and the song stops. Then he takes a certain specific item. You sense dread, right, like looking at that item, and then he comes back and the song starts again, right? Like
yeah.
the entire way they conduct that whole scene is so mind blowing. But again, right,
That
one
has
thing that
also
I
been
like
repeated
like to
in.
say, one thing I'd like to just add, like
Mhm.
for me, right, sound design, the I didn't really feel it on the same level as you two are discussing.
Okay.
It was like in almost other movies, like where which don't have that, like where sound never comes into the forefront into my mind, right?
But
And
mm,
not just in the good way, right? Like there are a lot of times where sound should not be the main thing. It was for me, it was like okay, right. It had sound. It did not detract from the experience. It did add to it, but it's nothing stellar. At least
Uh,
that's
I
my
don't know.
take.
Shreyas, you remind me of myself. It's
Huh?
like when you're discussing anime OSTs and I'm like, meh.
That's what I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing a very nice dichotomy here.
Yeah, but I feel they add a lot. Like for example, maybe you can try going back to I would say Pulp Fiction, but you can try anything else. And try listening to that scene without that music part.
yeah.
It
Or
it
feels so
definitely
hollow.
yeah.
it definitely does add to it, right? But there are a lot of times when you notice it, and there are a lot of times you notice not noticing it.
Yeah, but
And
sometimes it's
Something
intentional.
notice, not notice.
huh?
Noticing, not noticing something.
I
Yeah,
think
right. So when we talked about
Inception.
when we talked about 1917, right? So we talked about it at length. That sound design was never at the forefront, but it does add a lot to the mood of the scene. For me,
Mhm.
it never really felt like that in most of his movies.
yes, so maybe it was intentional.
Like, you don't
And
know, right?
also because he's using existing tracks,
Yeah,
so it's not like something very new created for this movie that you can
yeah.
I don't know,
remember
right?
just by that movie.
I don't know, like newness for me, like almost of the tracks I had not heard of them before, right? So
Yeah,
Hmm.
because they're old
because they're old, so like
and you
that
are not.
I don't know. Like that's why this is my things. If you want to discuss more, please do. It's very interesting hearing you discuss on that.
And after being such a spoiled sport, how can we discuss further? The
Sorry
sport
for
has
voicing. I am sorry for voicing my opinions.
so there is a way to voice your opinion. Like you can say that I did not find it interesting or it was not that remarkable, rather than saying that I'm not interested in this discussion, but you can carry on.
I never said that. I said
That
it's very interesting. It's very interesting to hear you guys talk about it.
no, that is the vibe that you're giving out. Like I'm not really interested in discussing about sound. I don't really even like it. But you guys can carry on.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I have been grossly misunderstood. This is this is an attack on my character. I am hurt. Oh,
yeah, that is the aura that you've been giving out. You need to change your smell, as Tanjiro would say.
what can I say?
Yeah, but do we even have anything else?
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, it feels like we've almost covered everything.
yeah.
We should have, considering 1.5 hours have passed.
Yeah, fair point. We can always end. Okay. How can we continue? Which series being such a spoil sport?
Like we could also like end very randomly, right? To denote how Tarantino has all these random things happening,
Yes.
which I think would allude to ending on Spoilsport also. I guess I don't know, maybe.
Tarantino is a spoil sport. Is that what you're trying to imply?
Like considering that he could have very well given us a middle finger on one whole movie, right? So you never know.
Yeah, especially considering that it's his second last, most likely.
Yeah.
Second last. Oh, okay. That I didn't know. I thought it was the last.
No,
No, come on, they have this entire thing going on around, right? At the start of every movie, they tell you what number it is.
mm,
This was
Hmm.
ninth, so you still have 10th left.
Oh my god. That's just speculation.
What?
he's
It's
yeah, he's told that.
recently reconfirmed.
Oh, okay.
And even this guy, uh, who was there in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Brad Pitt.
DiCaprio.
Brad Pitt, Brad Pitt. So Brad Pitt was also asked about it, like, what do you think? Is he just bluffing or is it this real? And then Brad Pitt was like, no, I think he's very serious about it,
Wait, serious about what?
Like,
about retiring after his 10th movie.
like
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that. I thought you were just like he wanted to retire at a round number. That
No, no, come on, Shreyas.
the
I
number
see.
will be his decision. Like,
Like, this is the point that everyone should know after having watched so many Tarantino movies.
yeah,
Why?
Not even fanboy level.
yeah. Means I think
Did you
for
never question? Where is that curiosity, Shreyas? Like at
Question
the start
what?
of every movie, you have the fifth Tarantino movie, the sixth Tarantino movie,
Huh?
the ninth Tarantino movie. It's like why? Why is this here? Is there any particular reason?
They're using the selling point. It's a Tarantino movie.
That they don't really have to mention the ninth Tarantino movie
yeah,
for that.
just Tarantino movie.
Like for,
Exactly.
for, for me, it's Tarantino, right? I would expect something along those lines.
Okay.
How do you guys tie that with building curiosity? Okay, say okay, fair enough. I can see
There
that.
must be
There
some
is
point. I think he's mentioning numbers.
exactly.
Like, who
Hmm?
else does that?
Like,
Who else
like
does that?
That's what I did. Right? I just chalked it up to Tarantino being Tarantino.
Oh, okay. But I think like Nolan has also done something like this, right? He retired, then he came back, then he retired again.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it was Nolan.
I haven't followed Nolan that much. Like, I just know about like Dark Knight and yeah.
He's not stopped Nolan yet. Maybe when we do a podcast episode on him, then he'd know.
Yes, yes. He'll come ready with the information.
Yeah, like I'm learning things.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? And on this hopeful note, let's end.